Namaste. A very warm welcome from Team Fast 5 from India. We're all final year students pursuing a bachelor's in design from the Indian Institute of Technology, Guwahati. This is Meenal, Mehul, Himanshu, Abhinav and myself Manu. We're really excited to be a part of the final round of OzCHI24 Student Design Challenge 2013. Although we would have loved to be present in person in Australia for this presentation, unfortunately because of our examinations we couldn't make it. Anyways, we'll start off this presentation. We'll be presenting an idea in the form of a scenario. So the first half of our presentation would be covering our process for the 24 hours of OzCHI and how email stands as of today. In the second half, we would cover some of the key features of a concept. So here goes. So let's go back in time to September 2013, before even the problem statement of OzCHI24 was released. So consider this as the interface for my own mailbox. So one fine day, Martin sends in a mail about the problem statement, which gets some of the students from my department excited. So Mehul drops in a mail asking me if he's interested in forming a team, and so this way 5 of us join hands, and that's how Fast 5 was first formed. So before the challenge actually began, we met a couple of times trying to kickstart the preparations for the competitions. We even designed a poster which is available on the blog. So let's jump into the challenge itself. So one fine morning at 5 o'clock Indian time, Martin sends in an email with a problem statement, which happens to be design the future of email.
So during the 24-hour design challenge, we followed a user-centered design approach. We kicked off the entire process with literature research. We collected a bunch of research papers and articles apart from the ones that were given in the problem brief. We divided ourselves into groups and divided these papers amongst ourselves, and we made sure that each paper was reviewed by at least 2 people. After a long session of reading, we discussed our insights over breakfast. So our review basically helped us gain a perspective of how email has evolved over the years, and it no longer remains a mere messaging tool. This has given rise to the inevitable problem of email overload. So here's a glance of 5 of us engrossed in reading different papers at the same time.
So once the literature review was done, we moved on to comparative analysis. We explored to see what kind of products exist in market, what problems are they trying to solve, what are the areas that they haven't touched upon. So it seems that email is essentially like our study table with all the stuff, and with calendars, contact list, to-do list, and like our study table, it gets extremely cluttered easily. So most of these products has targeted specific groups like salespeople, groups, and organization. Most of these products have raised question: how can we avoid this cluttering for a specific group? And how can we organize things that all things are easily accessible?
After going through literature research and conducting comparative studies, we have a rough idea of the problem statement, and we split ourselves into the 2 groups to conduct our user studies, to have a rough idea about their behavior patterns and pain points, preferences, etc. The first group collected quantitative responses from the 155 users our web using Google Forms. We found that 85% users mainly uses Gmail as their email client, and also out of them only two-thirds of the people spend less than half an hour over it, and 1/3 of the people never made a folder to organize their mails. In parallel to this quantitative research, second group was conducting qualitative interviews with users.
Parallel to the quantitative surveys, the qualitative user studies were also going on in full swing. To get maximum information from the worlds of academia and industry, we contacted various students, professors, and professionals from various parts of the country. Moving on, the 4 key insights that we had gotten from the qualitative user studies are context, decluttering, sorting and organization, followed by synchronization of the reminder widget. With the concept of email overload that has been brought up again and again throughout this presentation, there exists a dire need to declutter the inbox and further organize its content in an orderly and logical fashion. Moving on, here are some snaps of the qualitative user survey. Moving on to the next part of this presentation, the task flow diagrams. Based on the points that were nailed down in the qualitative user survey, we developed a task flow that addressed two very simple aspects of the reading an email and finding the previous email. After the conclusion of the research phase, we stepped into the ideation phase. We started to brainstorm upon the various pain points that we arrived at during the qualitative surveys, and we started to pour out our ideas and discuss and cross-question among them. Here are some of the stages upon which we started ideating.
After finalizing our concept through brainstorming, we created quick paper prototypes of our concepts. Here is a picture of mine while sketching out the quick prototypes, which eventually will be used to create the final video. Let's show you the small part of it which explains the fundamental framework of the concept.
Well, let us try to look at the big picture and try to build email straight from scratch. There is a sender. Also, there is a receiver of the information being sent by the sender. Sender can send multiple messages to the receiver. Our aim is to stack these messages or pieces of information. However, we as receivers never have enough time to organize and archive these incoming messages, hence the problem. Our solution proposes the attachment of an ID by the sender with the message. Messages with same ID are stacked together on a thread with the possibility of multiple such threads. The sender can now communicate with the receiver via any of these threads, and the receiver can also correspond accordingly. Such a structured change would organize emails like never before and substantially reduce the number of emails at the same time. In parallel, Mehul and Meenal also compiled our entire process and proposed a solution in the form of a 2-page paper. The final render of a video came about 10 minutes before the deadline, and after submission, we all headed back to our hostels, catching up on some much needed sleep. So, for a start, we'd like to emphasize that the solution which we are explaining, which we'll be explaining through the subsequent slides, is not an interface level solution. What we're trying to bring about is a structural level change in how email actually works, which could help in a much better organization. So continuing with the story, let's jump to October 2013, but this time with a small twist. Let's assume that a solution has already come into existence, and let's see how emails would now work. So let's imagine this to be Martin's email box. Finally, the results are out, and Martin's all excited to share them with us. He gets down typing the results email, and once Martin hits compose to begin typing and enters the email ID of the recipient, which in this case happens to be me, the email client begins suggesting tags based on recent conversations with the recipient and the content of the email. So for example, in this case, the email client suggests tags such as congratulations, OzCHI and official. Selecting a tag is completely optional. Martin chooses to attach the tag OzCHI and also chooses to attach official. He hits send, and again, based on the sender's and mail's content, the system suggested him tags, and he can select tags from these or add new tags based on his preferences. Meanwhile, in India, we are all waiting for the results, and let's imagine this to be my own mailbox, and I receive an email from Martin with the results, of course. So once I open this email from Martin, I see the tags which he had already attached on the top right. I can select these tags or add new ones according to my own needs. I choose OzCHI in this case to add. I also choose official, and then I choose to forward this email to my rest of my team members. So tags will get carried forward to support collaborative management. The user still has the flexibility to edit these tags as per his own needs. So I forwarded the mail got added to the thread, as can be seen on the top. Just to summarize, a thread is a collection of emails having the same tags.
So here, let's consider a future extension of this scenario where Manu wants to send a mail to the 5 of us regarding preparation of our presentation. He opens his compose box. He starts typing #OZ in the to field, and automatically he gets suggestions of tags and receivers based on his previous conversations. Now here we've eliminated the need of specifying receivers' IDs and tags separately. Also note the absence of subject. So a single word here is taking care of your receivers, subject and tags thereby making the process smoother and faster. So after that, his to and tag field get filled in automatically. He types in the mail and sends it across. Here, as you can see, the mail gets appended in the old thread with the tags #OzCHI and #presentation.
So on the left part of the interface, the trending tags will be displayed. Clicking on any one of them will take you to the corresponding threads. So since OzCHI is currently being used a lot, it will be on the trending list, and clicking on it will display the related threads.
You must be wondering that accessing a particular mail from a long thread can be cumbersome sometimes. Threaded arc is a visualization technique which we came across during our literature review. It is being used to visualize the complete thread, navigating among mails and access a particular mail. Here a circle represents a mail and details of an email can be viewed by hovering over its associated circle. Mails are arranged chronologically such that rightmost circle represents the latest mail. Reply to a mail is shown as an arrow which is pointing towards the replied mail. As the mail keep adding on the thread, threaded arc will help in keeping the navigation simple and clean.
Some of the future implications of this concept include: first, the reminders or the calendar sync. This feature includes a reminder tag that can be very helpful for people to keep track of their key tasks. Thus, a tag can automatically sync mails that you want to your calendar, thereby eliminating the need of any separate reminder tools. The second future use of our concept involves visualization modes. Since the change that we are trying to bring is a structural one, it can give rise to a lot of interface level visualizations. For example, a circular visualization can be possible with each circle representing a tag. This will also improve the navigation.
So we also wanted to test a concept out. So what we did was, what if this concept is actually applied to a set of 100 emails from an existing Gmail account? We tried this amongst ourselves in our own group, and the results were really encouraging. Hundreds of conversations were grouped, restructured and reduced to 40, 31, 10 and 22 threads respectively. Some more figures: the average length of a thread was 5.2 messages. The average maximum length was 33.25 messages. Thus, to conclude and summarize, this system therefore is giving you 3 different kinds of benefits. The first being a decluttered mailbox. The second, by putting context into our emails through tags and threads, we now have much better organization and management of emails. And third, our system is much more faster and a lot more efficient. Thus, it's a radical change that we're trying to bring about in the structure of an email, which could be the future of email. That's Manu signing off on behalf of Team Fast 5. We hope you like the presentation. Thank you.